Alrighty, so you guys should be able to see this screen over here with my mouse on it, can you?
Yep, can see it.
It's a fantastic thing. All right, so without further ado, only a little bit late. Thanks very much for your patience. And for those of you who stuck around here today, we'll get stuck into it. So my name is Brent Heber. I'm the residential account manager up here in New South Wales. You can see we've got a bit of a mix of people in the room from different regions. Today's webinar, what we're going to be talking about is the Genesis range of inverters from SolarEdge. A little bit of a Q&A session as well as we go through bits and pieces. So key thing for us, what we're trying to achieve here is to make safe solar easier and more affordable than what it has ever been before in this country. And that's by introducing that Genesis range in there that sits underneath our premium single phase and our 3-phase inverters. So we've got the Energy Hub there coming to market now. The 5 and 6 kilowatt units are coming into the market right now. The 8s and the 10s, 8.25s and the 10s will be here towards the end of the year. But for right now, we've got those 5s and 6s just starting to land. The Genesis is there as a fallback plan, if you will. It's your plan B for those customers who are like, look, I don't really want all of the fancy stuff. I don't need to see the panels. As long as you can see them, I'm happy with that. I don't need all the smart home stuff. I just want a safe solar system, and my roof is a bit tricky, and I want to make sure I'm getting a nice long warranty on my solutions. That's where Genesis sits in the market there as a mid-range product here. So if we're looking at a comparison in the features between Genesis, Energy Hub, 3-phase hybrid, looking across the range, you can see that there that Genesis, sorry guys, for those of you who are there, would you mind just muting your microphone if you're not already muted? Just make sure you've got your mic muted, that'll be tops. So as we're going through, you can see Genesis there. It's still going to be a fully optimized system, supports single string on our 5 kilowatt inverters. It has safe DC built in, still our industry leading warranties. Wi-Fi communication is built in as standard, although you do need either an antenna or a wireless gateway with it. More on that later. However, the key departure here from us with Genesis compared to our previous products is a homeowner doesn't get the layout view as standard. And the reason we've done that is because this is a more affordable product. You don't get all the bells and whistles with the entry-level product. And this is also intended based on feedback from the field. We've also had, it's trying to avoid some of those phone calls on a Friday afternoon from the retired engineer who's like, I've noticed there's 2 watts difference between panels 4 and 7. It's like, this is a diagnostic tool, not necessarily something that your homeowner really needs to be worried about. Anyway, we'll go through all of this in a bunch of detail. Energy Hub is where it starts to take over for those premium features. So if you want to add an LG Chem battery, that's Energy Hub only at this point with the new Gen 3 batteries. Backup capability will be coming before Christmas for Energy Hub. Smart home support, EV charger support with future EV products. All of those are built around the Energy Hub product, which is aimed at that premium end of the market. Genesis is your entry-level product, which is where we see tremendous amount of growth in solar in Australia. So that's where Genesis comes in here to plug that gap. So when you're selling Genesis, it's a slightly different sales pitch to your traditional SolarEdge sell. And we'll go through that now. So firstly, when you're talking about the monitoring, it's advanced monitoring for the installer, for you, the installer. There's no change for you. You see everything. You can talk about it as a safe solar solution for your customers with like back to base type monitoring for them so that you have got the alerts, you've got the visibility across the site. You can run your charts, your analysis. You still see everything that you would see on a normal HD wave install. The difference is for the homeowner. So when you're talking about this, I guess the thing that I would be emphasizing would be our alerts platform to give them peace of mind. The fact that you can set up your alerts to give you quick and accurate troubleshooting over the life of the system, minimizing your system downtime, which then makes it that much easier to service the system long term. And it also then in turn gives that customer peace of mind with the 25-year warranty. So the alerts platform and the fact that you can see everything is really the sales pitch here with Genesis. It's not about them seeing everything. It's about you, the trained professional, knowing what's going on that site and being able to take care of them for the life of the system. When we're looking at the homeowner experience, it's a bit different to a normal SolarEdge rig. They see dashboard only. So for them, they're just going to see the production yield. And if you add in a Modbus meter, a smart energy meter with the SolarEdge consumption metering options, then that will then be added in on the dashboard for them as well. You as an installer still see all of the normal features. So you've got all of the panel level visibility, you've got all the charts, all the analysis that you would expect as a trained professional to be able to troubleshoot and diagnose that system long term. So there's no difference there for you when you're installing in Genesis, which in itself can be a bit of a trap. Just make sure that you're installing the right product, because the homeowner experience is going to be different for Genesis versus HD Wave, whereas for you, it's going to all look very similar. Now, for customers whose needs change, for example, they might find that their installer has changed, or they've moved out of the house and a retired engineer's moved in and he's like, oh, I can see a SolarEdge system there. I want to be able to see everything. Then we have now got the option of an enhancement pack for Genesis customers. So if their needs change and they decide that they do want to see the panel level visibility, they can do that for $295. But this is a just in case, it's there for those customers who, they really have a strong need for this for whatever reason. Again, I try to talk you out of, don't include this as a standard inclusion. Genesis is aimed at a different market to grow your business with SolarEdge into that mid-market. If you just tack on another $300, you're back where we started, and there's no benefit to this being a more affordable product. So use this when you need to, not as a default. So that's the monitoring side of things. Let's move on to safety features, which should be a big part of the sales pitch when you're talking about Genesis. Because when we're looking at Genesis and its price point here in the market, it's sitting in a very similar place to a premium string system, like an Austrian inverter with a gray and red color scheme, for example. So the difference here between Genesis and a string system, a premium string system, is all going to be about safety. These safety features that we have built into our hardware. So if we're talking about that to homeowners, you've got to keep it simple, keep it down to that umbrella of features that are added for that additional cost, which is going to be about, firstly, arc fault protection. And so arc fault protection is built into our systems from the get-go, but it is an option for you to turn that on. So if you're selling this to your customers, make sure in setup that you're going down to maintenance and enabling arc fault protection during commissioning of the inverter so that this feature is turned on. So arc fault protection is there to cover everybody's bottom in case there's any problems with water getting into rooftop isolators or possums and rats chewing through cables. If there's any breakdown in communication or an arc fault detected, then rapid shutdown kicks in, and within 30 seconds, you're going to be down at a safe DC voltage, which means you've only got 1 volt coming out of each optimizer, which means that now you've got touch safe cabling. So if we're looking at a typical 5 kilowatt install with 18 panels on it for 6.6 kilowatts of oversizing, then you're looking at 18 volts DC, which is like holding 2 9-volt batteries. No one's going to get hurt with a safe DC solution in place. Last but not least, you've got the panel level monitoring in place there as well, which particularly on big systems means that you're going to get a better idea of if there are any faults, where they are on the roof, to speed up the maintenance and the work that you may need to do in getting things back up and happening. So the safety suite is a big part of the value. When you're looking at Genesis versus a string system, you're getting all of those safety features in addition to the monitoring that you, the installer, has in place. Let's move on to flexibility of design. This is another big benefit of SolarEdge when we're looking at what we can do by having that maximum power point tracker built in behind every panel. That means that you can use, generally, you don't have the same design restraint that you would find with a string system. So you can get more panels on the roof, and that's of benefit to you and it's of benefit to your customers. So when we're looking at that, it's very much about, well, how much can I fit on the roof? It's going to be 2 strings here with a string system, whereas with SolarEdge, you've got that freedom of orientation and you've got the freedom to then get a lot more panels onto that roof, to do it once, do it well, and get their bills down long term. Prepare them for the electric vehicle, prepare them to get off gas, prepare them for batteries, make sure that you're getting a nice big system on there for the customers so that they're ready for what comes next. Speaking of energy, when we're looking at SolarEdge versus a string system, we know from the peer-reviewed science that you will absolutely unequivocally generate more energy off a SolarEdge system than you will from a comparable string system for a bunch of reasons. Let's go through those in a bit of detail now. How do we get more energy off the roof? Well, it's because of the fact that every panel can breathe and perform at its best, and it's not being held back by a single tracker for a whole string. So when we're looking across all of those panels and the variations across the panels, there can be a tremendous amount of variation. It's not just about shade. If I'm training sales guys, it's often the usual thing with the solar industry. Sell a string system, string system, string system, string system. Oh crap, it's a tree. Now I have to confront something to deal with the tree. There's more to it than shade. When we're looking at mismatch across a roof, mismatch can be created by things as simple as transport damage. that you can't see with the naked eye. Those panels have to travel around half the world to get on the roof in Australia, which means that you are having a potential there for microcracking that you're not going to know about until later. You've got differences in orientation and tilt, which can be very obvious, but they can also be quite subtle. Sometimes here in Sydney, you might have a 100-year-old bungalow and the timber has just sagged a little bit in the middle of that roof. So there could be 2 to 3 degrees difference across that array on the roof. That could be enough just to change that variation of pitch to create mismatch across that roof, which in turn will hold back the performance of the system. Thermal performance is another massive one for us in summer, where we get a great variety of temperatures across a roof, anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees of variation across a roof, which is enough with obviously the temperature coefficients to then impact different parts of the roof differently, which is then going to be reflected in your tracker. And lastly, you've got obviously panel shading and soiling covering up your cells. But the big one is definitely manufacturer's tolerance. If we're thinking about the manufacturer's tolerance of our panels, let's say you're installing 370 watt panels. Most of the panels in a batch are 370, maybe most of them could be 5% better because you've got a tolerance of 0 to 5%, which means you could have 385 watt panels going up there across that roof with only a handful of 370s. And that's where your tracker on a string system is going to be pegged, is going to those underperforming panels, compared to with a SolarEdge system where every panel is going to be able to breathe and get all of the energy out of those individual panels, regardless of how much energy they're producing. So moving on from performance, last but not least, peace of mind and warranties. And for us, that's where we lead the pack here with some of the longest warranties. And that's, again, the final piece of the puzzle for your customers to give them peace of mind. The fact that we can offer as standard on our optimizers, you've got a 25-year warranty on the components that go on the roof. In addition to that, you've got 12 years parts and labor on the inverters down out of the weather. And if you want to extend those out, say the inverter out to 25 years, it's very affordable, with between $600 and $700 to extend a 5 kilowatt inverter out to 25 years. So significantly less than the price of a replacement inverter. So that's a fantastic opportunity for your customers to then give them that peace of mind. Why would they, not install a product that backs itself with a nice long warranty? If you compare that against string and premium string, it's often they're drawing these lines in the sand about parts and labor, things like that. We're talking about a fully wrapped warranty there in place for the customers. So in summary, if we're looking at this, why would your customers want Genesis over a string system when they're sitting there? First and foremost, it's going to be about using more of their roof. Sell a bigger system with more flexibility on that roof so you can get more panels up there and do it once, do it well. Secondly, you've got that industry-leading safety. The fact that we are right at the forefront internationally with rapid shutdown, arc fault detection, and we're building on that all the time. We have a new generation of optimizers in the next 12 months coming to market with even greater safety features built into them. You as an installer always retain that panel level visibility, regardless of whether it's Genesis or Energy Hub or three-phase hybrid. You still, as an installer, can see everything. You get all the alerts. You know what's going on with your fleet when you're installing a SolarEdge product, regardless of where it sits in the hierarchy. And remember, these are hybrids. Doesn't matter if it's a Genesis or an Energy Hub or a three-phase hybrid. Our entire residential product range is made up of hybrid inverters. You can add a SolarEdge battery onto all of them later in the year. And we have confirmation that we're expecting our first stock. It's been a long time coming, but they will be here before Christmas. That first bunch of stock is going to be arriving before Christmas, with good volume arriving in summer, probably around January, February. Obviously, that's a fair way off. So stay in touch with Cranich as you're approaching summer to make sure that you know when your ETAs are and what stock and what your pricing is on the SolarEdge battery as that comes to market, because that can be added very easily onto a Genesis system. And finally, those long warranties. Remember to talk about those with your customers so that they're across that and they understand the benefit financially to them of a bankable product. So that's the piece on Genesis. Before we wrap up for the day, I did want to put in a plug for one other issue here. How many of you guys find that Wi-Fi is costing you time and money and business time to deal with Wi-Fi issues? Now, I hear this tremendously all the time. Heaps of support calls that get generated by Wi-Fi and a lot of installer frustration to do with Wi-Fi. So SolarEdge are never resting on our laurels. What we would love for you to do is move away from homeowner Wi-Fi and start using a better connection between the inverter and the monitoring platform, which is a permanent connection for 25 years, something that I think all of us would love to see. So when we're looking at that, it's the SolarEdge Wireless Gateway. What am I talking about? This is a kit that you'd purchase from your distributor, which contains a wireless gateway, repeater type unit with an antenna. It contains the Ethernet cable and the inverter antenna with the installation guide. The idea of this is that it's creating a walled garden between the SolarEdge inverter and being able to be plugged in via a cable into the homeowner's modem router. So for this kit, which should be wholesaling there somewhere under 80 bucks compared to buying an antenna for under 40 bucks, you'll find that for an extra $40, you can put this to bed, put it in, plug it in very quickly and easily during install, so that then you've got a reliable connection between the SolarEdge inverter and that modem router over an Ethernet cable in the home. So if the customer changes their Wi-Fi password, it doesn't matter, because you're not using their home Wi-Fi. You're using a proprietary SolarEdge connection to get to an Ethernet port on that modem router. So install's very quick and simple. In setup, you just choose communication site, monitoring communication, wireless gateway. You scan the QR code on the side of the box, hand it over to Mrs. Jones. Could you take this in and plug it into your internet connection in the house and let me know when there's a blue light? When there is, you're going to have a stable connection there between the SolarEdge inverter and the homeowner's internet and back to the monitoring portal for us. And if you find that you're dealing with a giant house, and for some reason in America they seem to put inverters in attics, I don't know why, but if you do have a gigantic home and you need to move across multiple parts of the home, these are a mesh solution. So there's two part numbers. One is the gateway kit that we looked at earlier, and you can buy additional repeaters. So up to 2 repeaters will give you hops across the home, roughly 50 meters of range apiece. So the main kit should give you around 40 to 60 meters of range. And then in addition to that, if you need to get out to 100, put in 1 repeater. If you need to get out to 150 meters of range, add in a second repeater. What we're seeing here is a lot of our big accounts are starting to just include this as a standard cost with Genesis, because with Genesis, more than anything, you want to make sure that you're in and out quickly. This is a more affordable SolarEdge system you've ever sold before. Make sure that you're not eating up time, money, and margin on dealing with things you don't have to. 40 bucks and you can get rid of Wi-Fi. It seems like a pretty good deal. So for us, the 3 takeaways for today's presentation: Genesis and Energy Hub in our single phase range really give you and your customers a clear choice. Genesis is there for those affordable entry-level solution into an optimized system for your customers who aren't necessarily the technical ones. The guys who just want a simple, clear, simple solution which is reliable with long warranties and great performance. And if they want to add a battery later, they can add that SolarEdge battery later. SolarEdge is now faster and easier because we do have single string on all of our 5 kilowatt inverters. And if you're even doing a 10 kilowatt inverter from us, you can do 2 strings of 6.666 there as well. So we're getting quicker and easier with stringing. We're also resolving issues like Wi-Fi for customers by offering the wireless gateway. Last but not least, please remember that safe solar is a choice. When you're talking to your customers and you can see all of the shenanigans going on in our industry, like what we saw on the 730 report last night, it's important to make sure that you can offer your customers an alternative to a string system and DC voltages that can result in thermal runaway and rooftop fires. A SolarEdge system is going to overcome that because of the safety features built in, and Genesis gives you the most affordable SolarEdge solution that we've ever had to market. So it's definitely something that you can you can handle those sorts of concerns with by offering your customers a very safe solar system at an affordable price. Now, today, I've been going through at a cracking pace. I felt the pressure after we had a fairly late start, so I wanted to get through the content as quick as we could. If you need to follow up with our account managers here in Australia, I'm just going to leave this slide up on screen while we finish up any questions that we've got and that sort of jazz. So there's my contact details here in New South Wales and the ACT, and all of my compatriots there in Queensland, Victoria. Tim Barson takes care of South Australia, Northern Territory, and Tasmania. And we've got a new hire who just started this week in WA, which is Daniel Harris. So please be gentle with him for the first couple of weeks as he gets up to speed. If you need to contact our support team, please make sure that you're using the 1-800 number. Don't try to call people on the old 03 number because it's going through to an old phone system, not the new phone system that we've got in place. And we have loads of online training available at our learning center about SolarEdge if you're new to the product, or even if you're an old dog and you just got some time with lockdown and you want to have a look over some of the things that have changed recently. Please visit the solaredge.com/Oz/learning-center. You'll find that as a great homepage full of content, which is updated all the time on how our products work and things that you can do to get more out of your systems as you're doing them. All right, so that concludes the guts of what I wanted to get through today. And I apologize if it was at a cracking pace, but I believe it was recorded. So I'm sure that the guys from Cranich will share that out to everybody and we can go through it in a bit more detail. I'm just going to have a look in the chat here and see if I had some questions to go through. Shane, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. We have been recording this, so we will throw this up afterwards for anyone that needs to go back through it again. We also want to say sorry for all of the technical issues this morning. It was a bit of chaos, nothing was working right. And thanks for everyone who's taken the time to join us and learn a little bit from the SolarEdge guys today.
Absolutely. So, okay, looking at some of the questions that I've got in the chat. Where are we up to? 295, is that the wholesalers? And that was Edvard, I think you were asking about the enhancement pack for Genesis. That's an online purchase that the customer makes, so we're not trying to make additional work for you. If you are selling a Genesis system as an affordable entry-level system into the market, we figure the last thing you want to be doing is playing middleman between the customer, your wholesaler, and to organize, an extra code going through into the monitoring platform. So the enhancement pack, you'll find it by simply just Googling SolarEdge enhancement pack. You'll find a landing page on the website where the customer you can send that through to your customer and they can buy that online and their system will be upgraded within, I think the time frame that we put on it is 2 weeks, but it's generally within a few days that the update is done so that they can then get panel level visibility. What else have we got then in the questions? There was any future outside battery options that might be considered or just the SolarEdge one. So when it comes to the hybrid state of our residential products, we've got the 3 products in the market, and I might just skip back to this slide here while we're talking about this actually, because my screen's still being shared. So you can see there, if we're looking across the battery options, with the SolarEdge battery, which is coming to market at the end of the year, you will be able to add that to all of our current products, as well as screenless HD waves. So if you've got a fleet of those HD waves out there in the market that don't have a screen on them over the last couple of years, that means they can be installed with setup, commissioning. They will also be compatible with the SolarEdge battery, which basically overcomes a bit of a hole that we have with the ending of the Resu 10H range being taken out of the market. So this then plugs that gap for some of those customers over the last few years. So the SolarEdge battery can be added across the whole range. If you want something in the short term between now and Christmas, then it's going to be Energy Hub with the new Gen 3 Prime batteries from LG Chem. That is the only inverter of ours within our range, will be the single phase premium Energy Hub. That will be compatible with the new Gen 3 Prime batteries tested and working with a storage interface, the SESTI S4. So that'll be your connection to then do a solar plus storage solution between now and Christmas. And at the end of the year, we'll have a backup interface that can then be added in onto those installs to provide backup for all of your Energy Hub customers that you may well have done. What else have we got here? Bloody Wi-Fi, exactly right. I'll take that as a comment, as Tony Jones would say. Wi-Fi is definitely the bane of many of our businesses have spent an awful lot of time and money dealing with Wi-Fi issues. What we see with our products is there can be issues, particularly with Telstra modem routers that use channels 12 and 13. So for us, we just advocate, if you can stretch it to your customers and get that wireless gateway in there, you're going to have a reliable, safe connection long term. You're not going to have to be dealing with your customer every time they change their Wi-Fi, or if they change their modem router to the NBN or something like that. All that goes away. It leaves them with just a cable in the house that they can just plug into the new gear over the next 25 years. And importantly, I guess, when you're looking at right now, I think it's fair to say that 80 to 90% of the market are solar only, right? The battery attachment rate is still definitely under 10% in most territories. In my area up here, it'd be less than 5%. So you want to be able to capture that monitoring data in preparation for when they do look at a battery, because you want to be able to look at how much they're exporting, how much they're consuming, what's their nighttime versus daytime loads. That monitoring portal connection there is a wealth of data that's valuable to your business and to the customer. So do your best to make sure they understand the importance of staying connected. That connectivity will make everybody's lives easier, not just for future sales opportunities, but obviously for the support benefit of being able to get that back to base alerts set up and the full visibility across the site for them. So that's why to us, $40 to make sure that that is a solid connection is not, you know, too much of a price to pay. We'll get any other questions. We've got some thank yous there. Any final questions from the crowd? If you want to just put them into the chat, happy to answer them. Otherwise, that'll pretty much conclude today's webinar. And if you do have, as I touched on earlier, if you have any further, you know, interest in our products and you're keen to learn more, please check out solaredge.com/Oz/learning center, where you can pick up a ton of information there. Any final questions? Nope. Okay, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Shane, over to you. Thanks very much to Kranish for helping to organize today.
Thanks everyone for attending again. We will get this recording up, and I'll add that link to the recording so everyone can get through to that nice and easily and get more of that training. The more we know, the more we can sell, and the easier it is out there. So thanks everyone. Thanks for attending. Thank you to Brent for today for taking the time to present for us all. And we'll see you all at the next webinar. Thanks everybody.
See yous.